Here's a statistical fact. 91% of all YouTube videos use the same 13 thumbnails. In this video, we'll break them down, show you why they're so clickable and why they're everywhere on YouTube. All 4 of these thumbnails got clicked on for the same reason. Take this thumbnail of a duck in front of a Gucci shop. Usually you don't find ducks at a Gucci shop, you find ducks in a body of water. This duck is not in water. The reason that this thumbnail was the gateway to getting 3.3 million views is because as soon as people saw it, they had a list of questions formed in their head that they had to know the answer to. Such as, will the duck go into the Gucci shop? What will the Gucci customers say? Do Gucci clothes fit a duck? See what I mean? This guy has no tan and no shoulder caps. That is not something you find at a bodybuilding competition. So that means he's the duck, which makes the competition the out of water. Okay, it looks like Goofy with, I'm not sure, maybe a death metal band? Goofy never struck me as a death metal guy, but I guess we're going to have a weird sing-along. Here they tell us this old man is the duck out of water because he's a fake model. That means he's not a real model, which means he shouldn't be there, which then means he's the duck. So how will this grandpa pull it off? When someone, even a duck, gets taken out of their natural habitat and put into a new situation that they shouldn't be in, people have to see it. That's why we call this thumbnail the duck out of water. If you saw this in person, you text your friend and you'd be like, you'll never believe what I just saw. Some dude just pulled up in a McDonald's drive-thru in some sort of flying apparatus. And then your friend would be like, what do you mean, a flying apparatus? And you'd be like, I don't know. He just dropped down from the sky with some big wheel on his back. And now he's eating fries. And then your friend would stop texting because he'd be on his way over to see this crazy dude. And that's what this thumbnail is all about. I did something crazy. Here we have deep fried coffee. I can't believe that's a thing. Why would someone do it? Does someone actually do it? Is it any good? You got me. That was pretty crazy. I'd click on that. How is this thumbnail an I did something crazy? If you don't see the I did something crazy, it probably means you're over 23. Definitely over 20. Because you know when you were 13, your 13-year-old eyes used to look at stuff with, I see everything, hawk eyes. You can still be dumb, but you see everything. And your eyes are like ray guns. Beep, 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 beep. To that 2, 3, 4, 8, 7. So how is this an I did something crazy? The timestamp. Every young buck looks at that and says, is that timestamp 23 hours, 48 minutes, and 7 seconds? Is that even possible? That would be like crazy if someone actually did that. I don't even think you can upload a video for that long. And that's why this thumbnail is I did something crazy. At one point in time, sending garlic bread into space was a I did something crazy. Until anyone and everybody sent something into space. Mark Roper sent an egg. Nick sent a slice of pizza. Dude Perfect sent themselves. So that's the thing. When you do something crazy, other YouTubers will catch wind. And they'll be like, whoa, that was crazy. I should do something like that. And people might watch. But crazy has a shelf life. Because when it's not crazy anymore, it's just normal. And normal is pretty close to boring. The I did something crazy is a very YouTube-y format because on Netflix or Hulu you'd have to tell a room full of executives what your plan was. I'd like to count to 100,000. And the studio execs would be all, we love it, but can we workshop it for 6 months? What happens if we add a talking animal? Kids love those. It's a great idea. But will people binge? But on YouTube, there's no red tape. There's only a big red play button and a global audience for I did something crazy. Looks like a totally normal pickup truck. Kinda. Holy smokes, that's not a normal pickup truck. That's the world's smallest truck. You only know how small something is by comparing it to something big, which is why the apples to oranges thumbnail exists. A strong man compared to another strong man is kind of boring. But a strong man compared to a gorilla, way more views. How does a 2024 Prius compare to a 1995 Bentley? Apples to oranges. I have a couple of friends who would say, you can't compare a $700 Dyson fan to a $15 Walmart fan. And that's why they're my friends and not YouTubers. That's also why this video got 11 million views Oh, and by the way, it's just what you think. The $15 fan is way faster, way quieter, way cheaper. Apples to oranges compare completely different things, and the next thumbnail format does too. I went from skinny kid to huge. I went from kind of a chubby kid to Adonis. I'm huge, but I had to show everyone by getting shredded. They show you the start and they show you the end, and if the difference is big enough, you gotta know how they did it. From young Scottish boy to raging entrepreneur with a heart of gold. The classic rags to riches thumbnail. But not all level ups have to be an epic transformation story from skinny to huge or poor to rich. The level up is such an effective thumbnail that it works with even the most basic of skills, cooking eggs. They've got the egg sticking and they got the yolk breaking. That's two big problems I've personally had and I'd like to fix, so I clicked on it. Turning dirt into a shiny thing and selling it for $100? Totally rad. This is a triple level up. Weight loss, wealth, and wardrobe. Taking an ordinary can of tuna and turning it into a servable meal. The core human experience is all about getting better. From not being able to crawl, to crawling, to walking, to running. You get my metaphor. Going from A to B. Trigger warning. I'm going to say war is good. War, what is it good for? Actually quite a lot. But you might say, you just said humans teaching other humans is one of the greatest things you've ever seen. It is, but you teach them so they can go to war with someone else if they have to. Take Mr. Beast, he loves war. Kids versus adults, boys versus girls. Those were pretty straightforward, but here's a more complicated one. It looks like someone was riding in a bike lane and that person has now crashed into a police officer's car. In the bike lane. There's going to be trouble. How is the cyclist going to handle the police officer? Is the cyclist going to be in trouble for hitting the police officer's car? Is the police officer going to be in trouble for parking in a bike lane? I just had to say 87 words to do a poor representation of what this photo and your brain figure out immediately. That's why this is a War of Two Worlds masterpiece with a respectable 30,362,211 views. Is it the clearest image? No. But high res doesn't always make it better. South Park is just a couple of circles and rectangles. And who was that YouTuber? That was a young Casey Neistat with some 1,500 subscribers. So basically 13 million short of where he is today. This is a modern version of Casey's bike lanes. I broke silly laws in front of the police. Now, how do you know this is a war and people are looking for the conflict? Right there in the watch curve. It's one of the highest points in the curve when the police officer shows up. And Max here saves it for the very last second of the video. That is a YouTuber who knows how to use suspense. Never give the audience what they want until you're ready to close up that video. This is a different type of War of Two Worlds. This is man versus nature. Ryan Trahan is on his own challenge, his own war. Riding across on a block of ice against hot water. Will he make it to wherever he's going before the boat becomes the lake? And he doesn't even know himself if he'll get across or not. That's what the life jacket says. There has to be a chance of losing to be a game worth winning. You know how in the first Mr. Beast thumbnails there was going to be some WWE stuff happening? Girls versus boys, kids versus adults? This conflict has no WWE. It has all inner spirit conflict. This is a war with himself, a man testing his own free will. See? War was good. I proved it. I rest my case. Okay, so you don't want to get punched in the face. I don't blame you. What's a way to wage war without actually going out in public? Talkbacks. Progress in humanity has moved from using our fists to using our words, and that's why talkbacks exist. This is how a talkback works. This YouTuber was like, hey, we saw the internet in Japan and it was weird. Then this YouTuber came along and was like, you missed a bunch of stuff about why the Japanese internet is so weirdly designed. You might not care, but over 1 million people did. You can also do a talkback to a whole subject, like this YouTuber here. This woman went up to interior design and said, you got a problem. Whoa. Then there's a talkback to an idea. Most people think being bigger and taller is better for fighting. This YouTuber is saying, nah, being short is the way to go. Reacts are one of the most common forms of talkbacks. Here we have everyone's favorite grandpa. He's going to listen to some guy's remix of Gin and Juice. And a little foreshadowing. Snoop looks like he's going to say, "Who the heck has been messing with my music?" AKA, he's going to talk back to this guy's remix. Maybe you went to a school like I went to where there was no debate class. But there is a thing called debate class. It's where two people get up and they say their opinion about some topic. This is the origin of the talkback video. You say that, I say this. Okay, that's America. I know maps. I know my geography. Now, they're saying 20% live there and 80% live here. But it looks almost like a 50-50 split of America's landmass. Weird. When someone just points out the facts that you can't explain, they've created a puzzle to be solved. And the only way to solve it is by clicking. He has a fan pointed at a window. I'm going to say, pretty boring thumbnail. I would never click. But as soon as he puts in the text, further away is better. I'm like, where is the best place to put a fan? Now that I think about it, I've only seen fans in windows. He took a common household thing and turned it into a puzzle to be solved. All you have to do is ask a question, and people are like, never thought of that. Okay, trees. Definitely boring. Strip of grass. Probably even more boring. But what happens when he adds text? No touching zone. Wait a second. They're not allowed to touch? Do they have the flu or something? Is that a religious thing? Without the text, it looks like a trail. With the text, it's a puzzle to solve. On a deeper biological level, humans love puzzles because it's practice for how to solve problems. And if you can solve a puzzle, you can solve a problem. And what is life? A bunch of problems to solve? Why did this fish change so much in 50 years? How does this house rotate? Why do gifted kids take a nosedive? Okay, as soon as you grow up, a lot of your problems are not in the physical world anymore. That means they're not easily represented by a pictogram or a Mr. Beast thumbnail. No offense, Mr. Beast. Sometimes life gives you a situation like, how would you represent getting rejected from an Ivy League school? What are you going to have? A picture of you and a letter? That does not make a great thumbnail. So this YouTuber went with the most tried and tested mechanism that humans have for communicating with other humans. Writing. When I'm helping people with their thumbnails, I usually say, don't use words, use pictures. But people who go to MIT can read, and read well. And when they're scrolling through YouTube, they don't see a lot of text on screen, which means when they do, they get intrigued. It's like catnip to a cat. MIT big brains go crazy for text. So, how would someone know when to resort to using text? Take someone like Veritasium. Say he had a video he wanted to make about, I don't know, an extremely complex idea like entropy. I could see Veritasium sitting around the office and saying, how are we going to show entropy in a thumbnail? And they do the obvious. They try looking at what other people used in their thumbnails for entropy. And all they'd find is a weird cartoon and an empty glass from MIT. When I'm looking for entropy, I'm not looking for a dirty glass left on the counter. And then finally, some dude at the back of the room would be like, oh my God, I have an idea. What if we just wrote the word entropy? And then some other guy would be like, oh my God, I got the title for that. Entropy, the thing nobody understands. So that's how YouTubers know when to use text. If you can't show it, tell it. Part of a good text thumbnail is all about picking the right words. This is still a very good thumbnail without the text. If you add text and you said, how to peel a watermelon. Kinda lame, might pass. Peeling fruit is just not that interesting to me. But this YouTuber didn't do that. He called it, how to skin a watermelon. That's exciting. That's like vegetarian hunting. For a wholesome guy, Mark Rober really knows how to be a bad boy. Here's a YouTuber pointing to what looks like some sort of, I don't know, a dumb zigzag pattern. I see that and I think, pretty stupid. Guess what his text was? Looks stupid, actually genius. Holy crap, this YouTuber read my mind. So that text is, I know what you're thinking. Click and learn more. I don't know if you can tell, but text is kind of complicated. So let's look at another example. Imagine a YouTuber has a great idea for a video, surviving a sensory deprivation tank. Now that YouTuber has two problems. Number one, nobody knows what a sensory deprivation tank is. Number two, a sensory deprivation tank is where you can't hear anything, you can't feel anything, and you can't see anything. How would you ever be able to visualize that? Answer, you don't, which is why Ryan Trahan is a genius. He just wrote it. So you're scrolling along and it's junk, stuff, clutter. Wait a second, hold up, where's the thumbnail? Welcome to minimalism. There's not much to say because it's just one thing. Even if you know nothing about chairs or care that much about chairs, you do know this chair. And this thumbnail stops your scroll and makes you think, what did this humble chair do to garner this photo shoot? And this close-up. 3.2 million views on a plastic chair. Poof. Okay, another example. You might not know what these are. I didn't know what these are. But like most things on YouTube, there are worlds within worlds within worlds that you know nothing about. In a world of homemade candies that look like something else, it's a very attractive thumbnail to people who are into making candies that look like something else. I think it's actually supposed to be bamboo, but correct me if I'm wrong. Whew, there goes my sleep tonight. Minimalism works because it stands out from the scroll and focuses all its energy on one thing, like this creepy ass bear here. For minimalism to work, a YouTuber has to be beyond confident that the thumbnail is interesting. It's like sliding all your poker chips across the table and saying, I'm betting on that. On the opposite side of things, we have maximalism. Maximalism is when there's so much in the thumbnail, but somehow you're totally interested in everything. It's not clutter, it's not a mess, it's not a distraction. Somehow all the information works together in some sort of synergistic magic. I really feel this guy's energy. And in case you didn't get the message from the 17,000 labels in the foreground and the look of fear factor rage on his face and the fists of fury, he's also put in the background a pinwheel that communicates the chaos he's trying to convey. And you might be like, that's not for me. That's okay, because 16 million people said, well, I want to watch 58 minutes and 31 seconds of this chaos. You don't have to be as intense as this guy. You can be much more calm and chill, like James Hoffman here with his coffee creamers. James uses the same maximalism format, but instead of saying chaos, he's saying, I have a PhD in coffee creamers. So that's the encyclopedic version of maximalism. Another type of maximalism is the complete guide. If these guys just put up the words camera angles, I'd be like, boring, and scroll on by. But the fact that they put up a dozen examples of amazing movies makes me feel like I'm gonna get all the secrets to the movie universe. Take one of the masters of maximalism, Johnny Harris. Johnny Harris uses maximalism to show the complicated array of all the players involved in the complicated world that is our world. Let's look at this Bosnia thumbnail. It's Johnny Harris. He's the brand, so that's branding. He's got a tank. That means war. You got what looks like a mom and a son walking. That means refugees. The personal. You got Bosnia, which is the subject. You got Bill Clinton, which is the political players, the fame jacking. And to finish it off, in the background is a map. That's geography. Johnny Harris's forte. If he only put one of those things in the thumbnail, there's no reason for me to click. But when he puts it all together, we get a geopolitical problem. A war. It's hard to make maximalism work because all the elements have to be cohesive. It can't be crowded, and there still has to be a focus, which is why, just like minimalism, maximalism is a tough bet, and it's hard to pull off. But when YouTubers do pull it off, it's a great way to show a complicated story. The only thing humans are more attracted to than winning is losing. Humans hate it, and that's why a cautionary tale is everywhere on YouTube. A cautionary tale is a story about how things can go wrong, so that people can learn from the mistake. Like, let's say you make a sandwich that looked like this. My 9-year-old self could have really used that. What's great about a cautionary tale thumbnail is they grab my attention with the problem I have, but I gotta click to find out the solution. You know when you wake up in the morning and you're like, I just had a dream. Oh, it was so vivid. God, I can't remember it. Well, they are professionals at remembering the dream they just had. Crazy. The problem with lucid dreaming is sometimes it becomes lucid nightmares. That's where this thumbnail comes in, sharks and surfing. Pretty much everyone besides a few crazy people on YouTube do not like swimming with great white sharks. So lucid dreamers wonder how they might prevent that, and this thumbnail gets them to click. That's what a cautionary tale thumbnail is all about. They show me pain, and I say, whoa, I'm scared of that pain. And then I click to find out how to avoid that pain. Now, in the case of this thumbnail, 8.5 million people were interested in preventing sharks from haunting their future dreams. All of these thumbnails could have just told you the right way to do things. The right wood to buy, the right way to dream, the right way to make a peanut butter and jam sandwich. But that wouldn't have been nearly as interesting. If they gave away the answer in the thumbnail, why would you click? That wouldn't even make sense. You wouldn't. And that is why a cautionary tale is everywhere on YouTube. You just can't give people the answers. You got to make them want the answers. You're doing chin-ups wrong, cautionary tale. Don't use tie-back home wrap, cautionary tale. I've wasted 7.5 years of my life learning guitar the wrong way. That is definitely a cautionary tale. Never waste 7 years doing anything, kids. And if you do, make a video about it. You will kill it. The opposite of a cautionary tale video is an I want that video. Instead of how do I avoid that pain, it's how do I get that thing I love. Maybe you're into home organization, then this is an I want that. The guy made a beautiful drawer, took him a year to design it, squeezed it into 9 minutes, which makes it totally worth watching. I'll pass on those tattoos, but those shoulders, that's me. I want that. This I want that is powerful because pretty much anyone in the world can get it. It's 99 cents. The drawer and the shoulders were more an aspirational I want that. But this one is affordable, readily available, and just to make it even more interesting, it's a secret. The only thing humans love more than solutions to their problems is secret solutions to their problems. The I want that thumbnail is a very wholesome thumbnail. People like things, and what they like, they want. It's very simple. And if you have a recipe behind that thumbnail for how to get that thing, guess what? You have a really great video. Because people will click on a I want that because they want to know how to get that. Even if you haven't heard of a cliffhanger before, you've seen it because TV shows use it all the time. Remember the intro to Breaking Bad? It's Walter White wearing a gas mask and no clothes, except for tidy whities driving a ratchet RV through the desert. It makes you wonder what's going to happen next and how the hell did he get here? Now, think about it. If they opened up with a guy teaching high school, boring. Cliffhangers cut straight to the interesting part. And that's why YouTubers use cliffhangers all the time. Like Iraq here. I'm not really sure you can put a video up where rats eat your face, but Iraq here is implying that with the cliffhanger, circumventing the YouTube algorithm. It was so successful he decided to repeat it. But this time it was with robots with bad intentions. He did it again here. This time it looks like a rom-com meets horror movie cliffhanger. I'm a typical human. I've watched people cuddle with leopards and I've seen leopards mess stuff up. We are at the moment where the leopard is either going to mess stuff up or they're going to be great friends. This YouTuber did a text version of a cliffhanger. This is why your dog doesn't come back. If you had a dog that didn't come to you when you called him, this thumbnail would be very interesting to you. You'd click on it and find out why, and maybe you'd get him back. This Jeep is on a literal cliff, which makes it a literal cliffhanger. What's that parrot going to do to that fluffy cat? Isn't it weird that we can tell something's going to happen? You put two objects right next to each other and things will happen. That's just psychology. Oh shit, that's a wolf. Cliffhanger. These are some turkeys, definitely not a cliffhanger. Turkeys are boring. So, there you have it, the 13 thumbnails that make up somewhere between 91 and 87% of all YouTube thumbnails. And now that you've seen them, you'll start spotting them everywhere. And they're all designed to hijack your brain and make you click. And honestly, they do a pretty good job. There's an old saying that you should show up late and leave early, and that goes for movies, parties, and YouTube. If you need help with your thumbnails, links below.